The Para Cave podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Para Leagues, platinum sponsor Baytech Recruitment, The Corner Post, Wick Coffee, Ashore Strata Reports, Spot On Hose and Fittings, Wine Barrel Event Hire Sydney, Rubbish Removal Kings, and Flash Conveyancing.
We are Flash Conveyancing, your property legal team, and you're listening the Para Cave podcast. If you are buying or selling property in New South Wales, call us. Call Flash Conveyancing.
Baytech Recruitment. Baytech Recruitment. Where we're gonna find you the perfect match. All the tradies you can think of in any industry. Look out for a wrapped up Mitsubishi. Fridgie, Sparkies, Bombers Plus. Whatever the trade, just give us a buzz. Baytech Recruitment.
Give us a buzz now.
So give Chris a buzz on 0414 922 272 today.
Let's go! Welcome back to another show. Hi, how are ya? It's the Para Cave podcast coming at ya. Turn it up, feel the vibe, blue and gold. Step inside the cave. Yeah. Easy try in the corner. Here's your host, Troy Water. Coming to you live from the world famous Para Cave.
Hi, how are ya? Welcome back to another episode of the Para Cave podcast. Troy Warner here. This is the Eels review podcast. The Eels played the Rabbitohs in Indigenous round, which was last week and this week coming ahead again at Allianz Stadium. And unfortunately for me and many other Eels fans, the Eels went down 28 points to 24 in what was certainly a interesting game, that is for sure, in front of 19,077 fans. Now, I just thought maybe the Rabbitohs fans might have turned up a bit more in droves, to be honest. 19,000 there. Look, there was a lot of blue and gold support there. You could see that on the TV, and I knew a lot of people that were going, but I just thought maybe the Rabbitohs fans might have turned up a bit more. Maybe they're too used to going to Accor Stadium. Certainly the Roosters fans are saying that anyway because of the Roosters Bulldogs crowd that was on the night before, which was much more than that. And yeah, anyway, it was Indigenous round. I thought maybe more Rabbitohs fans would have turned up, but it wasn't to be. 19,000, still a pretty healthy crowd, I guess. Half of the stadium there at Allianz. But the Rabbitohs, wow, they really came out in that first half, didn't they? 28-0. They did all their point scoring in that first half. Can you believe that? Now, started off 3 tries in 10 minutes. Now, the reason for that was Brian Kelly was in the sin bin 93 seconds into the game. Now, that was a split-second decision. Split-second tackle, you could say, or hand placed on Tallis Duncan. What are your thoughts on that one? I thought that could have went either way. I mean, absolutely split-second. Anyway, it was deemed that Brian Kelly touched Tallis Duncan, I think it was in the air by memory, and it was ruled a professional foul, and he spent 10 minutes in the sin bin, and Alex Johnston got 2 of his 3 tries in that 10-minute period. Tavita Totola got the second try of the match, but the first try was only after 2 minutes. to Alex Johnston. It was basically left hand side. Parramatta's left hand side, Rabbitohs left hand side, I should say. It is pretty lethal and has carved Parramatta up in the past. That is for sure. Alex Johnston, he loves playing against Parramatta. I should just actually find out how many tries he scored against Parramatta, to be honest. And yes, wouldn't you know it, he has scored 21 tries against Parramatta in 18 appearances. Against the Sydney Roosters and also Melbourne, he has scored 20 tries. The Sydney Roosters, he's played 25 times, and the Melbourne Storm, he's played 17 times. So he loves playing against Parramatta because he tends to get a lot of tries, well, the most tries against any opposition. And more times than not, it's not just one try, it is two. And this is the second occasion he has scored 3 tries against Parramatta in a match. But look, the second try to Tavita Totola was, a little bit of a lucky one, I think. Luca Moretti, he just could not catch the ball on the full. It was a kick into the in goal. The ball hit the post. Luca couldn't catch it, unfortunately. And it just hit the post, and Totola scored. He was just jolly on the spot and scored. I should mention too that Alex Johnston first try was their 53rd try down the left-hand side. So, definitely their left-hand side is pretty lethal. But, it just happened after Luke Keary in commentary. He mentioned it. He picked it. Josh Adokar kept on jamming in. And Jai Gray, he made a long run, and that led to that second try from South Sydney. And then Johnston scores his third try inside 10 minutes whilst Brian Kelly was in the sin bin. And look, it ended up, and then Brandon Smith scored a try pretty much from dummy half. And it ended up being 20-0 after 20 minutes. So basically a point a minute. And look, I was sitting there along with probably other Parramatta fans thinking, wow, this is going to be 50, 60. And this is what Parramatta fans, I guess, feared it would be, because 20-0 after 20 minutes, absolutely unbelievable. Parramatta didn't score a point in the first half. It was that. Look, I'll be blatantly blatantly honest with you guys. It was a dog shit first half from Parramatta. And 28-0. I was sitting there thinking, wow, this could be 50, 60. I mean, the Roosters put 82 points on the Cowboys the week before up there in Townsville. I was thinking, geez, I hope it's not anything like that. But whatever was said at halftime was, I don't know what was said at halftime in those sheds by Jason Rolls, but a few people have suggested maybe he should say that at the start of the game, because that has been Parramatta's problem in rugby league games this year, is their starts. The only one I can think of that I can remember just recently was the Panthers game, where they got up to a 12-0 lead. But unfortunately, they lost that game. But they started well. They got the first 2 tries of the game. They were in control of the game. And that's what they needed to do in this game. And that's what they need to do in every game. And it just didn't happen in this one. Obviously, the sin binning didn't help, and which was a big hindrance. But as I said, that sin binning could have went either way, I thought, anyway. Let me know what your thoughts are about that one. But look, to the credit of the Eels, they really stood up in that second half. As I said, I do not know what was said in that second half, because it was absolutely amazing. They came out and absolutely blitzed it in that second half, scoring 4 tries to 0. And look, 4 conversions as well from Mitchell Moses from all parts of the field as well. There was a try disallowed to Jordan Samrani. I did think he got tackled in the air, but it wasn't deemed to be like that, unfortunately. But Talon De Silva, he got the try scoring off, started for Parramatta in the 43rd minute. Some good dummy half play, got himself over the line. And actually, Talon De Silva is the leading try scorer of the Parramatta Eels for this year. That is unbelievable. When you pick a top try scorer for the year for a club, and especially Parramatta, you would think someone like Josh Adokar or maybe Brian Kelly or someone like that, an outside back. But to have a hooker as your top try scorer for the year just shows you how good you're going throughout this year. But some very smart play from Talon. He's pretty dangerous from that dummy half. Came on off the bench, and it was a Riley Smith. He started the game. He was back into first grade after, I think it was round 9. He came back from injury, a sternum injury. He had played a few New South Wales Cup games previous to this one, but he was back in the headgear, the light blue headgear, jersey number 22. He started the game at hooker, but what a game he had. He played, he was one of the para players of the match, to be honest. He played out of position. He scored a try as well. He played 80 minutes. He played, I think, centre as well as hooker. Probably another position as well. I think even when he was playing centre, he was playing hooker at the same time, doing a few dummy half plays as well. He just had to be jolly on the spot for that one. But 80 minutes from Riley Smith, he scored that try. I love the competitiveness from Riley Smith. We saw that with the kick pressure. In that first half especially, and we saw that when he scored his try as well. He never gave up. The bounce of the rugby league ball, it is a very, very strange one, isn't it? It can go anywhere. It did look like that Kit Kat Kidioni Katonga was going to score, but the bounce of the ball just beat him, and Riley Smith, he was competing and he got the ball and scored that try, which was Parramatta's second try. And look, Parramatta had the momentum then. They were all over South Sydney. I think South Sydney had 0 sets and Parramatta had 5. It was something ridiculous like that. Just the possession that Parramatta had in that second half. They just had the momentum. They scored a try through Talon De Silva. That gave them the confidence. And then Riley Smith scored. As I said, Riley Smith, 8 runs, 74 metres. 16 post-contact meters, also 27 tackles as well. I mean, we're used to seeing Riley tackle about 50-odd tackles a game, 40, 50 tackles. That's playing at hooker, but 27 as well, because South Sydney, when they did have the ball, they did run at him a lot. The Ronald Volkman try was 3 minutes. It was 3 minutes. That number 3, it's pretty synonymous with Parramatta, isn't it? 3 victories this year by 3 points. Now, the tries that scored by Parramatta, the first 3 tries were scored 3 minutes apart. Talon De Silva in the 43rd minute, Riley Smith 46th, and Ronald Volkman 49th. Ronald Volkman, he really stepped it up in the second half. He looked dangerous. He did take a couple of runs there early on in that second half, but then it was his run to score his try. Step, and then over. Determination. Boy, wasn't he pumped up. I think he kicked the ball up in the air like you do when you score a try like that. And Parramatta, they just had the momentum. Then that got the score back to was at 28-18, and you just thought that maybe there could be something happening here because Parramatta, they were on a roll. They just had that momentum, and Parramatta, it did look like they were going to cause the biggest upset of the round in terms of, and also the biggest comeback in NRL history. If they had won this game, being 28 points nil down at half time and to come back and win, that would have been the biggest win in NRL history. And look, it nearly happened. It took a while for Jordan Sanrani to score his try, but look, it was a great try. He was, I think, playing on the wing up against Jai Gray, so you had that height comparison there. Obviously, Jordan's a bit taller than Jai, and I think it was Ronald Volkman, kicked the ball over to Jordan's side, and or it might have even been Mitchell Moses, and obviously that height advantage. He got the ball down, and there was this belief in me anyway, and I'm sure it would have been in the players, that Parramatta can go on and win this game, because that got it back to 28-24 with 12 minutes to go in that second half, and with all that momentum, by that stage, Isaiah Iongi unfortunately suffered what is believed to be a PCL, MCL injury. Doctors at the ground, Parramatta doctors at the ground, satisfied and have checked him over that it wasn't an ACL. Otherwise, that would have been what I think it's the third ACL of the season for the Parramatta Eels, with Jermaine Hopgood, I should say, and Matt Dury suffering ACL injuries. They're in recovery now. All is looking good for them. But it looks like his season will be over, unfortunately. Isaiah Iongi, it does look like an MCL or /PCL injury to his knee, so he did not return. But then all chaos sort of broke out because Jason Ryles, he sort of went with a forward-orientated bench. When you look at the bench that Parramatta had on the night, it did look like a forward-orientated bench. I mean, you had Talon Silva, Saxon Pryke, Junior Paulo, Tika Brown, Josiah Funa Oyuta, Tony Mataele on the bench. So it was a forward-orientated bench. There was no utility back on the bench. So that's when all the changes happened, and it just, it was a bit chaos. You had players playing out of position. And look, credit to those players that played out of position. I think Will Penasini, he ended up playing on the wing. Josh Adokar went back to fullback. He threw some wild passes, didn't he? And look, that's probably something that you just have to do when you're playing catch-up football, is something different. Just, it did scare me though. Catching and passing the ball like that. They were pretty good passes too, Josh. Well done, mate. But yeah, they certainly were heart in the mouth sort of stuff. And you had Riley Smith playing centre inside Will Penasini. So it was all a little bit all mixed up when it came to players playing in a position with Isaiah Iongi going off. Now, next week, the Eels play the Cowboys, so you would probably think that it would happen the same as what happened earlier on in the season when Isaiah was out. You would probably think that Joash Papali would come into that fullback position. He has played there this season. I remember he had a game against Manly where he brought down Hamoli Olakawatu at full speed, and Joash is only a little bloke, and he brought down big Hamoli, so he can do the job there, and it would just add another, I guess you could say, attacking weapon there at fullback. Not the biggest fullback. So obviously he would be targeted there, but nevertheless, I think he will get that position. So, was that something that Jason Ryles was going on for in terms of having all forwards on the bench? Well, yeah, I don't know what his thinking was there, but I'm sure he probably would have learnt from that, and maybe next week against the Cowboys, or this week against the Cowboys, he will probably have some sort of utility back, or someone who can play in the backs on the bench. Look, if we go to now the stats, the team stats, and it was 54% possession to Parramatta, 46% to the Rabbitohs, 28 minutes 26 to Parramatta, 25:07 to the Rabbitohs. And look, most of Parramatta's possession was in that second half. They pretty much dominated the second half in all the stats, and they pretty much won all the stats too, to be honest. They just didn't win the game, unfortunately. But one pleasing thing would be the 83% completion rate. They had 6 more sets than the Rabbitohs, 42 sets, completed 35 sets. So a very pleasing 83% completion rate, about 100 more run meters, about 84 more post-contact meters. The line breaks, South Sydney won that one 11-3. Tackle breaks, South Sydney got that one 40-24. So that is one concerning thing for Parramatta as well. The missed tackles, 40 missed tackles. You just cannot win footy games if you missing 40 tackles, although they nearly did. And I did think they were, but Cody Walker, he seemed to ice the game for the Rabbitohs with that 40-20 right before full time. Parramatta would have had, I think, one more chance to jag this victory, but unfortunately Cody Walker, he stepped up and kicked a 40-20, and Josh Addo-Carr probably not playing fullback as much as what he has done in the past, I guess. Sort of got a little bit confused, or he went for the ball, then he didn't, and sort of made a meal of it. Not made a meal of it, but the ball beat him out and went over the sideline, unfortunately. So discipline was a lot better from Parramatta this week, which is something that you need to do in rugby league games, not giving away 6 agains or penalties. It was 4-all in the penalties. Ruck infringements 2 to Parramatta, 3 to South Sydney, and 1 inside the 10 metres. 2 players are on report from South Sydney as well, and the 1 sin binning, which was the Brian Kelly one. So that's the team stats. If we go to the player stats, and look, if we go to the top performers, Jack Williams, once again, 39 tackles. He was the highest tackler in the Parramatta side. Not unusual to see him up the top of that list. He is definitely a player that leads from the front. Jordan Samrani, he was the player of the match for the Para Cave podcast. He absolutely blitzed it, and I think he has been one of Parramatta's best players since coming back from injury a few weeks ago now. Scored that try, probably should have been 2. 21 runs, 212 metres, 65 post-contact metres, 1 line break, 7 tackles. Great performance once again from Jordan Samrani. As I said, he is holding down that centre position, and look, it will be interesting when Bailey Simonson comes back. I'm not 100% sure when that will be, but I think Jordan Samrani, he'll be tough to leave out of this Parramatta side, because, as I said, he has been one of the better Parramatta backs, players even, throughout the last few weeks. Certainly last week against the Tigers as well, and this week against the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Mitchell Moses, look, he really controlled that second half. He was in and around everything. His goal kicking was on song, and that's what you want from your halfback, your highest paid player in your side. If only you could do that in the first half, but didn't have the possession in that first half. But that second half, he really stood up, I thought, and controlled the game really well. There was one point there, I'm not too sure who he was having a major spray at, and we can see that from Mitchell with a bit of frustration, and he certainly gave someone one hell of a spray. I don't know who it was, but 9 runs, 59 metres, but it was probably his kicking that really, as I said, it was his kicking that really helped Parramatta. 18 kicks, 544 metres, and look, that's what you expect from Mitchell Moses. And look, some of those towering torpedo sort of bombs, they really had the South Sydney backs there. You could say a bit worried about them. I think a couple of them bounced at some stage as well. I would not want to be behind or under one of those kicks. That is for sure. Saxon Pryke, he returned as well. 30 tackles made in the game, played 53 minutes, played a little bit of dummy half as well, I think, that being players out of position. 16 runs, 123 metres, so some pretty good figures there on his return to first grade. He could be one of the players of the future for Parramatta, so good to see Saxon back. Junior Paolo as well, his second game back from injury. 40 minutes he played, 12 runs, 120 metres, also 18 tackles as well. So, look, I think it was one of those games that Parramatta, if they had a couple of other options, they could have maybe sealed the deal. I don't know why they don't kick the ball along the ground sometimes. I know that Jordan Serrani's out in the wing there. He's a good aerial threat there. But maybe try. I mean, I'm not a coach or anything, so I'm just a fan in the stands. But maybe try something like that to be just a little grubber kick along in the in goal or something like that. Try and get a repeat set. Short dropouts. Parramatta are no good at short dropouts, either doing them or receiving them. South Sydney at a crucial point in the game got a. Parramatta did get a repeat set, but South Sydney did the short dropout and got the ball back, unfortunately. I don't know how we fix that one either. Look, it was. I'm proud of the performance. To be 28-0 down and to come back like they did. If Parramatta did not give South Sydney the start, well, then they would have went on to victory, I think, Parramatta, but it just shows you that they wanted to win this game, but they just gave South Sydney too much of a lead. South Sydney bogey side, Parramatta have only won 1 out of 11 now, so it was always going to be tough. But I'm just proud of the effort that the guys showed, that the team showed. They could have just hung up and just said, well, that's it. We won't worry about it. But they dug in and they came back and nearly pulled off the biggest victory in this NRL history. That would have been good if that did happen, if they did pull off that victory. To have a record at Parramatta like that would have been sensational. If we go to now, that leaves the Eels in 13th spot on the NRL ladder on 20 points, along with the Tigers as well. The Raiders and Storm are 11th and 12th, just in front of them on 22 points. But next week's game is against the Cowboys, 5:30 p.m. at CommBank Stadium, 13th versus 8th. The Cowboys obviously go into this game as favourites, being higher up on the ladder. But Parramatta did beat them up there by that magical margin, 3 points. Up there in Queensland, 33 points to 30. So, look, anything can happen. This will be the second week of the Indigenous round concept. Anyway, that's enough for me about this review from the Eels v Cowboys. The Eels v Rabbitohs. There will be a Eels v Cowboys preview coming out in the week, so stay tuned for that one. I hope you really enjoyed it. Please give me a follow on Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, and Apple. Thank you very much for listening. I really appreciate it, and I may even see you out at CommBank Stadium on Saturday night. The Para Cave Podcast, by the fan, for the fans. Go Para!
Thanks for listening to another